Next topic in our module is Rule 6, which is the investigation operations. Investigation operations include investigation of crime or incident, scene of the crime operations, administrative investigation, and other investigative work necessary to determine facts and circumstances for filing cases criminally or administratively. Conduct of crime scene investigation. The CSI starts from the arrival of the PNP first responder to the arrival of the duty investigator and the SUCU-LS team until the lifting of the security cordon and release of the crime scene. Standard Operating Procedure Number ODIDM 2011-088. Conduct of crime scene investigation. Okay, so here are the specific functions, responsibilities, and procedures of investigation operations. Number 1 is first responder. The first responder is a police officer who is the first to arrive at the crime scene to provide initial police actions and information or complaint regarding gender-based violence cases. They are responsible for identifying the scope of the crime scene. They will secure and preserving volatile evidence. Their priority is always the safety of those who are at the scene to save and preserve lives. They will arrest the suspect if present in the area. And also, they will turn over the crime scene to the duty investigator upon his or her arrival after he or she has been briefed of the situation. Next is investigator on case. At a scene, the investigator on case define and secure areas that may contain evidence, examine and document the scene, collect physical evidence, and preserve. They also package and submit the evidence to the laboratory for analysis. They will make a thorough assessment of the crime scene based on the briefing of the FR. They will coordinate with the PNP Legal Service for the filing of appropriate motion for the release and disposition of submitted evidence after the case is dismissed at the prosecutor's office or resolved by the court. Number 3 is SUCU, Scene of Crime Operations. The role is to locate, collect, preserve, and catalog evidence from crime scene. They are also known as crime scene investigators. They are responsible to respond to the operations center and conduct SUCU upon receipt of the request from the concerned police unit. After they turn over the crime scene to the COP for security of the area, they will perform the final crime scene survey together with the investigator on case and accomplish the inventory of evidence collected from and furnish the investigator or on case of copies of the same before leaving the crime scene. Next is legal officer. In here, they will make a determination through searching questions to the COP if the crime reported falls within the definition of sensational crime or serious election-related incident under PNP MC 2013-2004. They will go to the crime scene involving sensational crime and serious ERI and ensure that the applicable laws, rules, and regulations during the CSI are observed. And they will provide the necessary assistance in the preparation of complaint, affidavits, and other pleadings that will be filed before the prosecutor office. Letter B is special SUCO procedures. In cases where the evidence gathered needs special processing due to significant or sensational cases, the specialist from the CL shall be requested. In bombing cases, the EOD personnel should first clear the area prior to entry of the SUCO team. In suspected or reported chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear, or CBRN situations, the SUCO shall directly coordinate with the Special Rescue Team of the BFP and other appropriate government agencies. Next is, in mass victim situation, the regional district SUCO who has jurisdiction over the area shall act as the FR to the interim disaster victim identification task group of the PNPCL. They shall immediately assess the forensic specialist needed to be deployed at the crime scene and relay the requirements to the PNPCL headquarters. Next is policy guidelines on processing of persons present at the crime scene. These policy guidelines prescribe the operational procedures in processing and handling persons present at the crime scene. B. They the suspects, victims, or witnesses. The aim is to clearly define police courses of actions in dealing with persons who, for any reasons and personal circumstance, are at the crime scene during post-incident situations. As soon as the perpetrators surrender or when they are captured or arrested, the IC shall ensure that the following are accomplished. Number 1 is processing, debriefing, and documentation. They will document victims, perpetrators, witnesses, and key participants in the incidents. Venue of processing, debriefing, and documentation. In here, they will consider the instability of the situation, the safety of the responders and persons found at the scene of the crime, the preservation of place of incident, venue, debriefing, and investigation shall be at a neutral and secured place. Next is release of the crime scene. Release is accomplished only after completion of the final survey. Once the crime scene is processed, it can be released. At minimum, documentation should be made of time and date of release to whom release, by whom release. Once the scene has been formally released, re-entry may require a warrant, but only the person in charge should have the authority to release the scene. They should consider also the need to have certain specialists serve the scene before it is released. Example, blood pattern analyst, and medical examiner, and others. Next is 6.2, maintenance of police blotter. Police blotter. It is an official logbook which they write or record of arrests and other occurrences maintained by the police, which contains the daily register of all crime incident reports. So each PNP operating unit station shall maintain 2 separate police blotters. Number 1, blue blotter. So the blue blotter contains the daily registry of all crime incident reports, official summaries of armed and other significant events reported in the police station. Next is pink platter. Pink platter is a police record of cases involving women and children. Only officers in charge of the women's desk can see it in order to safeguard the privacy and sensitivity of these cases. Next is blatter procedure. Crime incidents, arrests, or events shall be recorded in the blatter book by the DO, a police officer. If the report is a crime incident as verified by the DI, he/she shall accomplish the incident record form using crime information reporting and analysis system, from which the entry in the blatter book shall be extracted from. So, if the incident falls under the jurisdiction of the Katarungang Pambarangay, it shall be recorded and indicated in disposition as referred to barangay. If the crime incident involves children in conflicting with the law, always use aka or aliases when writing entries to blue blatter. Next is Judicial Affidavit Rule. This rule shall apply to all actions, proceedings, and incidents requiring the reception of evidence before the court in place of the direct testimonies of witness in order to reduce the time needed for completing their testimonies. Letter A. Application of rule to criminal action. This rule shall apply to all criminal actions where the maximum imposable penalty does not exceed in 6 years. Next, contents of Judicial Affidavit. Number 1 is the name, age, residence or business address, and occupation of the witness. Number 2, the name and address of the lawyer who conducts the examination of the witness and the place where the examination is being held. Next is a statement that the witness is answering the question. Another is question asked of the witness and his or her corresponding answers, consecutively numbered, that show that circumstances under which a witness acquired the facts upon which he or she testifies. Elicit from those facts which are relevant to the issues that the case presents, and identify the attached documentary and object evidence and establish their authenticity in accordance with the rules of court. Number 5 is the signature of the witness over his or her printed name. Number 6, under the Judicial Affidavit Rule, is a proof that an oath was taken before an administering officer or notary public. Next is the sworn attestation of the lawyer. The Judicial Affidavit shall contain a sworn attestation at the end, executed by the lawyer who conducted or supervised the examination of the witness, to the effect that he/she faithfully recorded or caused to be recorded the questions he/she asked and the corresponding answers that the witness gave. Next is neither he or she nor any other persons then presented or assisting him or her watch the witness regarding the latter's answers. 6.4 Custodial Investigation. Custodial investigation refers to the investigation conducted by the law enforcement immediately after arrest for the commission of an offense. So letter A, duties of police during custodial investigation. The arresting officer or the investigator, as the case may be, shall ensure that a person arrested, detained, or under custodial investigation shall at all times be assisted by counsel, preferably of his own choice. The arresting officer or the investigator, as the case may be, must inform the person arrested, detained, or under custodial investigation of the following rights under Republic Act 7438 and Republic Act 9745 in a language or dialect known to and understood by him or her, that he/she has the right to remain silent if he/she waives his or her right to remain silent. Anything he/she says can be used in evidence against him or her in court. He/she has the right to counsel of his or her own choice. If he/she cannot afford one, he/she shall be provided with an independent and competent counsel. Next is, he/she has the right to demand physical examination by an independent and competent doctor of his or her own choice before and after interview questioning. If the person arrested is a female, she shall be attended to preferably by a female doctor. If she cannot afford one, he/she shall be provided with a competent and independent doctor to conduct physical examination. Letter D, the state shall endeavor to provide him or her with psychological evaluation if available under the circumstances. Letter E, he/she including his/her immediate family have the right to immediate access to proper and adequate medical treatment, and he/she has the right to be informed of such rights. If the person arrested, detained, or under custodial investigation opted to give a sworn statement, the arresting officer or the investigator, as the case may be, must produce it in writing and in the presence of his or her counsel. The arresting officer must ensure that, before the sworn statement is signed or thumb marked, if there is inability to read and to write, the document shall be read and adequately explained to the person arrested, detained, or under custodial investigation by his or her counsel of choice, or by the assisting counsel provided to him or her in the language or dialect known to him or her. Number 5, the arresting officer or the investigator, as the case may be, must ensure that any extrajudicial confession made by a person arrested, detained, or under custodial investigation shall be, in writing, signed by such person in the presence of his/her counsel, or in the latter's absence upon a valid waiver, and in the presence of any of the parents, elder brothers, and sisters, his or her spouse, the municipal mayor, the municipal judge, the district school supervisor. Letter B is the persons under police custody. The following are the policies and procedures in the admission, visitation, transfer, and release of persons under police custody. Admission. The pertinent data of the Popc shall be encoded in the IROCS and other NGIS as applicable. The following can be detained, admitted in PNP custodial facilities. Letter A is accused covered by warrant of arrest or commitment order issued by the court, and arrested suspects who are under custodial investigation. However, under no circumstances should the arrested suspects under custodial investigation be held in custodial facilities beyond the prescribed regulatory period, unless, while in custody, appropriate charges have been filed. Requirements for admission. In situations where the arresting police unit has no existing custodial facility, they may request admission of the POPC to another police unit, provided that they submit the following mandatory requirements, such as request for custody or commitment order, proof of medical examination or medical certificate of the POPC, and the case folder of the POPC containing, among others, the accomplished booking sheet. Number 3 is segregation of POPC. Segregation according to gender and classification of crimes committed by POPC shall be observed. Number 4 is visitation. Visitorial rights of a POPC shall be subject to the following conditions: security rules and regulations of the facility, such as, but not limited to: Number 1 is the number of visitors at any given time, non-wearing of similar color with the POPC's uniform, prohibition on the use or possession of camera, video equipment, cellular phone, and similar devices, presentation of public and or pertinent document to prove relationships. Number 5 is transfer of custody. Upon receipt of the commitment order from the court, the chief custodial facility shall coordinate with the issuing court to ascertain the validity of the order. Upon confirmation, she must coordinate with the receiving detention facility for the immediate transfer of custody, and prior to the transfer, the POPC shall be subjected to medical examination by PNP medical officer, or in his/her absence, any government physician. Number 6 is release. The chief custodial facility shall be the sole approving authority in releasing the POPC. Upon receipt of the release order from the court, the chief custodial facility shall coordinate with the issuing court to ascertain the validity of the order. Upon confirmation, she must coordinate with the arresting unit if there are other legal impediments to the release. The chief custodial facility shall likewise check from the PNP e-warrant system to determine if the POPC to be released has other pending warrants of arrest. If there are valid grounds for continuous detention, the chief custodial facility shall inform and coordinate with the court that issued the release order immediately or within 5 days from notice. Prior to the official release of the POPC, she must undergo another medical examination at any PNP health service unit or rural health unit. The chief custodial facility shall coordinate with the arresting officer for the release of all the property seized from the POPC, except for those items still being used as evidence and those forfeited in favor of the government. Next is transporting of POPC. The POPC must be properly escorted and handcuffed at all times and seated position in the vehicle in a manner that prevents his/her escape and deny him or her the opportunity to endanger the lives of PNP personnel. Female POPC shall be escorted by a policewoman. Number 2, the transport of POPC shall be done using official PNP vehicles. Other vehicles may be utilized subject to the approval of the head of the concerned unit. POPCs shall, as much as possible, be transported wearing POPC's uniform or proper attire that may identify them as POPCs. Number 4. Transport of POPC shall be limited only to the following. Letter A. To the proper office for inquest or court for hearing. To the nearest hospital, clinic in case of the mandatory medical examination or during actual medical emergency. To the designated evacuation area, exclusive for POPCs during a crisis situation. During court-permitted transport and other analogous circumstances. This is the end, and thank you very much.